Hey everybody, this is Steve Looney from GraphicDesignerTips.com. This is my final episode in wrapping up the three-part mini-series on these three banner designs that were actual banners that I printed and designed and cut in all intricate ways for my new company. But basically, in the last two videos, there were a lot of things that I taught you, little tidbits here and there. You're going to learn some different stuff in here, which is the whole point of this. But basically, what I'd like for you all to do is after the video is complete, after you have time to do the tutorials, to go to my specific Facebook post on this actual tutorial, which you'll find in the link. And I encourage you all to show your work, post what you did for the tutorial, help each other out, and also for, like I said, I called it extra credit. Basically, think of another idea. You know, our banners are blank or are the blank, and create a new theme around it. You know, even if you want to create a couple of them, just whatever you can think of to be original, and help each other out. That's the goal here. So I said it in my second video, and it's funny because my first video was about 44 minutes, and I was trying to keep the second video shorter, and it was 43 minutes. So I'm hoping this one won't get to 42. I do tend to talk a lot about real life things that happen and issues and conversations that are going to happen between you and your client, and all the pitfalls to avoid and all that stuff. So yeah, let's get started with this thing right away. Our banners are and my kids are funny because they go, our banners are the poop. I don't get it, Dad. No, our banners are the shit, but I can't actually tell them that because they're too little, and then they'll start saying that to everybody. So on all three of these banners, I didn't really, I kind of just touched on it in the other videos, but when we were testing out on our machines, which we've basically gotten in the last 6 months, that we were testing printing, and then we were testing our plotter, which is a programmable cutter where you can do all types of fancy cuts and stuff. That's where I had the idea to do our banners with, just like on the bottom here, with different irregularities. So each banner, these three banners, have had different irregularities that went with the theme. So if you start over here with our banners are fire, everything is nice and pointy. It's got the different color flames going down. This one, it's got the waves on the bottom, wavy just like the text. And it was funny because on this last one, I was a little bit stumped on what am I going to do with the bottom. So I ended up taking the shape of the poop emoji, and I just started doing some different sizes. You got, these are all the size 1, 2, 3. There's like 4 different sizes down here, and I think it worked actually really well. And the way that it cut on our plotter machine was like, once it started cutting, I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible that something can be done in Illustrator, mapped out, and sent to a cutting machine to cut it out. It's just really cool. So the first thing I want to do in this tutorial is I want to come up to here to this cute little poop emoji right here, and I want to come over here to the pen tool, or P on your keyboard. Now, like I say in episode 2 and now episode 3, if you didn't watch episode 1 yet, please start at episode 1, because there's a bunch of things I'm going to kind of scoot over. I'm going to, fly over in this because we did them in the first one, and I didn't feel it was necessary to keep going with a lot of things. So you want to come up here to the pen tool, and like I said, P on your keyboard command shortcuts. I have a video on them back in the day. Very, very good stuff. So we're going to click, and if you've never done a clipping mask, this is not a video to teach you how to do a clipping mask. So I'm going to literally go very fast through this. The two little eyeballs right there. Point of the clipping mask, if you're wondering, and like I said, if you're brand new to this stuff, it's probably going to be a little bit too intense for you, is to really eliminate what is behind. And what is behind this image is that white background. So I'm just going to kind of go like this. As you can see, if I see white there, I know I'm incorrect. I see some issues there where I could always fix the path later with the anchor tools. You're never going to get your clipping masks perfect the first time, especially if you're trying to speed through them. But yeah, oh, this guy is almost done. All right, so now I did the shape of the poop emoji. I could always come in here and refine it, just like in here. You could tell I had some issues. So we're gonna hit A on our keyboard to get our direct selection, which is the right arrow. We're gonna hold Shift and click that point right there. And we're just gonna move this one over. You realize what's happening right here. It's getting screwed up on the bottom now. So we're gonna pull this anchor out. I'm just gonna mess around with some things until we get it to where we want. We feel good about our angles and stuff. Okay, I feel good about this, except for this right here. Let me just fix this last one. Oh, 3 times. Look at that. There we go. Just gotta zoom in. Cool. All right, so I'm now going to, well, originally, as you can see, I put this brown box behind it just so we can see that white, so the white's hidden now. But basically, I'm going to click back here, the entire image. Remember, this is the image, and then I'm going to hold Shift and click this. So I have them both right now. I'm going to right click and I'm going to make a clipping mask. So now the poop emoji is in the it's in that little frame now. Now what's cool about when you do this and you put a background on it, not something I planned on, but now that I'm looking at it, is I could see the imperfections of where I screwed up. So what, let's try and fix this up a little bit. So we're going to hit A on our keyboard. We're going to clean it up a little bit. We're going to pull that in. All right. And now also somebody might say, well, you're just going to put a white stroke around it anyway, so it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't really matter. But if you want to just be a perfectionist at everything, then it does matter. All right. So we're not going to refine all that. What we're going to do here is we're going to Option, click, Shift. So I'm making 2 of these now. I'm going to take this brown box. I'm just going to delete it because I don't need it right now. I'm going to come into here, right click, release clipping mask. I want to take that image and I want to delete it. So what I have now is I have that shape. I have this clipped out and now I have the shape because I want to use the shape for the background. And it's funny because what I did to the entire bottom of this is what it was literally like the last step. I did the entire banner and I was like, what can I do differently to the bottom? I'm like, I have to do something differently to the bottom. I did them to the other 2, and this is like the grand finale one. I got to make it, I got to make it jive with the others. So I ended up doing this last, and it was actually kind of a pain in the butt because I had to, move stuff from my background, and there's a layer here that I had to add it with the Pathfinder, and there's a layer here. So I'm going to do that from the get-go. So I'm just going to flip this upside down right now. And if you don't know how to do that, when you click on your piece, you come to the corner right here. You're going to hold this and hold Shift so you can flip it up nice and easy. I'm just going to fill it with black right now because if I don't, that's going to happen. It's just going to disappear for right now. We're going to leave that little poop emoji there. I'm now going to take this entire piece and get it out of my way so I can work. We're going to come up to here. We're going to create a rectangle or hit M on your keyboard. We're going to make a nice rectangle like so. Probably going to go up, yep, till about there. So what I now want to do is I now want to take this poop emoji, and what I ended up doing is I ended up putting one on the edge. I know that for a fact. And when I come to the edge, I didn't want there to be a 90 right there. So I basically am going to have it kind of go just like so. So it rounds right into the piece. All right. I put one at the very end. Option, click, Shift. So you're just copying it over. I do a lot of that stuff in my designs. So you'll hear me say that over and over in my videos because that's what I actually do. That's how I actually design. And now what I want to do is I want to hold Option, click, Shift, and whatever the distance is from here to here, if I now hit Command D, it's going to do an additional one. It's going to step and repeat it, that same distance, and I'm going to do one more. So now, as you can see, my poops are, and if it's funny because if my kids watch this video, they'd probably be laughing the entire time. Dad, you always tell me not to say that word. It's a silly word. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? For the purpose of the tutorial, son, it's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to select all 5 of these, and we're going to come into here, and which is your alignment tools. And I'm sorry, sometimes they're not always at the top for you, depending on what version of Illustrator you're using. So we're going to come up to Window Align, and I'm going to take my tools. I'm just going to put them over here. On the bottom area, there's something called Distribution of Objects. We're going to come into here, and let's see what happens if we hover over. It's not telling us, but it's basically showing us that it's going to space everything out through its own center point. So here's a center point, there's a center point right through the middle. Now it's also going to center everything between the edge, the left edge of this, and the right edge of this. So again, we're going to select all 5. We're going to come here, and it's going to reorder these perfectly across. All right, you saw that? Pretty cool. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make 3 little poop emojis that are of different sizes, and we're going to transfer them over to the other empty spaces. So we're going to go Option, click, hold Shift when you're doing it. That's 1, and we're going to scale this one down. We're going to pull it out to the edge a little bit. We're now going to Option, click 2. We're going to scale this guy up. Hold Shift while you're doing it, or your poop is going to smush. All right, pun intended. All right, Option, click, Shift, and we're going to do one more that's like so small, medium, large, extra large poop emoji. Make this one a little bit smaller. And let's see what I did in here. So I go small, medium, large. You know what? I'm just going to keep it consistent. It goes large, medium, small, but I'm basically just going to take this. I'm going to go to Option, click, Shift. I believe if I do Command D, it's going to hit the same. It's off a little bit right here, you can see. And there, now it's too much off. So we're just going to nudge these back a little bit. Remember, it's a banner or it's a layout. It's not everything has to be 100%, although I'm very anal with my stuff, so I usually am refining this stuff to be perfect. So now we have all our shapes. As you can see here, most of these, the way that they're coming in, I refined these a little bit more. Up here, everything is very flat in the middle. So I probably had stuff scaled up a little bit more where it kind of married up like that, but that's okay for the purpose of this tutorial. This design took me a long time. This tutorial is not going to. So it'll, like I said, it's going to be 42 minutes or less. So we're now going to come into here. We're going to select all this. Let me make sure something. Okay, yeah. We're going to select all this. We are going to go to Pathfinder. All right, if you don't have that, go to Window at the top and find your Pathfinder tools right there. And we're going to go to the top left tool called Unite, and boom. Once we do Unite, we have an entire shape. This is our little shape right there. Let me just see something right there. Okay, so in my other 2 videos, I show you how to make gradients. I even have videos on how to do gradients. So what we're simply going to do here is we're going to click this background, hit I on our keyboard for the eyedropper, and we're going to click this right here. We are now going to make sure that the lighter brown is at the top and the darker brown is at the bottom. So we're going to come into gradient or G on your keyboard, and we're going to go like this. And I realized I just did it wrong. So I'm going to click from the bottom and go up and hold Shift when you do that. And we got our gradient. What we are now going to do is we are going to take this background, which is actually a bunch of vector shapes that I made very simply, and we're going to make this background happen. So before the background's there, it all looks nicey, not nicey, it looks very plain, and we're going to create something new and cool. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to come over here, and that's why you have all this white space around here so you can play and you can experiment. So I'm going to come into here, I'm going to hit Option click, and I'm just going to move this over here, and I'm going to hit Command 2, which I talk about in my other videos, to lock the selection. You'll see why I'm doing that in a minute. See, now I can't mess with it. Yes, I could put it on another layer. Yes, I understand that. I love layers. I've used them for many years, but a lot of times I just don't design with layers because I could speed through things without looking at my keyboard, and I believe that's a goal to aim for in the long run, to be honest with you. So what I'd like to do here is you're going to see I provided you with a black circle, 100% black, no transparency, and this brown, which you can also sample, I believe, right here with the eyedropper tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this black, I'm going to turn it white. All right, we're going to make this come into our transparency and give it an overlay and bring it down to 80%. You're going to see what happens, all right? Well, you're going to see that it disappears, so nothing really special happened. So I'm now going to select both of these. I'm going to come into my alignment tools, which are still here, actually, align objects. I'm going to align them through this center point here, so they're right on top of each other. And with this brown one right here, I'm going to go to my transparency again, make it multiply, and change the opacity to 50%. I'm going to hit enter, okay? Then you're going to have something cool like this. If I move it over one of these colors, you're going to see different things happen based on different colors, okay? So now what I'd like to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to go to Command G. I'm going to group this. So now it's all grouped, nicey nice. What I now want to do is I want to create just a basic pattern of it, and there's different ways to do this. People might talk about in the comments, but what I'd like to do is I'd like to hold Option, click, Shift, just like so. A little bit off because it's going to kind of go in a zigzag pattern, all right? And now you're going to hit Command D, and you're going to go past. I basically want to create an entire pattern of these that is a little bit larger than this shape that, there you go, that I locked before. I'm now going to take this entire piece, I'm going to hit Command G to group it so I don't have to select each one individually. I'm going to, again, come down, I'm going to go Option, click, but now I'm going to move this right here so they're between each other. And let me back up a second. I'm actually going to take this and come to Object, Arrange, bring to front so I can see it. I'm going to now, okay, so now we're going to go to Option, click, and we're going to move this right here. Right, we're going to space it out a little bit more. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to take both of these. I'm going to hit Option, click, Shift, so I can now keep going. All right, ready? One, Command D, Command D. One more, Command D. I'll take this entire last row, and I will delete it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all these pieces that are a part of the pattern. You see I got all these now, and I'm going to hit Command G. I'm going to group them together. Now I'm going to come into Object, Unlock All, or Shift Command 2, so I basically unlock that element, and I'm going to send it to the front. Object, Arrange, bring to front. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to take this entire piece and clip it into the inside of this shape. So I'm going to select both of these, right click, make clipping mask. Top object is very complex. It may cause the document to fail to print or preview if used as a mask. Do you want to make it a mask anyway? Sure. All right, I got that when I was originally designing it. It's okay. I'm going to hit V on my keyboard. I'm going to come into here. And whoa, look at that. All right. So I'm going to just line this up by eye, like so. I'm now going to come into here. Actually, let me just see what I did in the original, because like I said, these things take a long time. I'm going to come into here. I know this one's on top, so I'm going to take my transparency. I'm going to lower it a little bit. When I say a little bit, I'm going to go down to like 50%. And now we got our background emoji. Now I'm going to make a bunch of you very happy because I'm going to come into my layers because I know I don't need this background anymore. I'm going to come into my layers. I'm going to click Create New Layer. It says Layer 2, but I'm going to drag it to the bottom and I'm going to name it Background. All right. I'm now going to take this entire piece right here, okay, which remember it has 1 and then 2. I'm going to take this entire piece. I'm going to come into my layers, indicates selected art. I'm going to move this little blue to the red, which is the red layer. That layer is red, and I'm going to lock it. All right, so now I can't mess with this at all, and I love it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here into my rectangle tool, and I'm going to make a rectangle that starts about here and goes to about here, and we can always change this later. I'm going to come into my eyedropper tool. I'm going to sample. Actually, what am I going to sample? I'm going to sample this color right here. I'm interested to see something real quick. What did I do? What did I do? Interesting. Okay. All right, so I'm going to have to change something later. I just realized, but that's okay. All right, so I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, and we're going to do something interesting that I also do in some of my designs. If you click on this box, you're going to see this point in the middle. That's the center point of the box. We're going to come into our rulers. We're going to make a line. We're going to hit Command R if you don't see rulers on the left and the top. And you're going to pull a rule out to the center. Okay? Another way you could have found the center point is literally if you just looked at this little white box that opens, your little transform boxes up here. And we're going to hit the plus sign on our keyboard. We're going to add a point on that. So I'm going to take that guide out for a second. So you see that little blue point? I'm going to add another blue point right here. Okay? I'm now going to hit A on my keyboard, and I'm going to click this point, and I'm going to go up with the up arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 25. Let's do the same thing up here. 25. All right. I'm now going to go to Shift C, and you're going to get this little boomerang that comes out, and we're going to click on this, and we're going to kind of unwind it. You're going to like move, I think, counterclockwise, right? And then you're going to hold Shift, and you're going to see what happens there. We're going to do the same thing for the bottom. It's basically made this that was it was a hard edge, and now it's a nice smooth curve. All right, we're going to hit A on our keyboard again. We're going to pull this up a little bit more. It might be too much. And we're going to pull this down a little bit. Okay. Now check this out. This is going to be a pretty cool thing. We're now going to create these little bars that go above and below it. And the way that I would do that is I would very simply, I might even come off to the side normally. I would copy this over here. And then I would go to Option click, and I would shift this down, right? So I have one on top of the other. I would select these both, come into my Pathfinder tool, and minus the front. Now I have one. Okay. And I would just hit with my up arrow till I had a little bit of spacing after that. Very cool. Very cool. What I would now do is I would do that again. I would Option click, Shift, move that over, Option click, hold Shift, and move it up a little bit just by eyeballing it. Select both, minus front. Now I got my piece actually a little thicker, so I'll come do that again. Cool. Very cool. The last thing we're going to do with this piece is we're going to, very importantly, very simply, make that poop emojis. All right. But actually before that, I'm going to pull in my logo, my Multisource printing logo. I'm just going to option click shift. I'm going to shift that up. And the reason I'm doing that now is to show you that, there's ways I refine this so this wouldn't be too crammed and crunched in here. All right. So that was a little bit lower. I can even come in here. This is like a distortion. I really don't want to distort anything, but okay. So up here, you'll notice that the poop emojis stop because it just keeps the balance. I had that whole open area for the logo. What you want to come and do here is go to option click again, right click so we can release the clipping mask, delete the image, and then we'll have the shape. I want to turn this brown just so I can see it. I'm now going to come in here. I'm going to scale this down, and I'm going to do 1, 2, hold option, click shift, 3. I'm going to hit command D, command D, 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 D. All right, so they're at least spaced apart. Now what I'm going to do is, as it's going up, I'm going to come into here. I'm going to turn these just a little bit. Just a little bit till it sits on that same like arch going up. Basically just going to follow the shape. Maybe I won't even do that one. We'll just do that. Okay. And now we're going to click 1, hold shift, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That piece right there, we're going to hit the Pathfinder, unite, and bam, look at that. How simple is that? Now we got our poops in a shape. Poops in a shape right there. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm literally going to come here 1, 2, 3 because they're all grouped together. I'm going to hold option click. I'm going to pull these up right there. Now what we're very simply going to do is we're going to click 1, 2, 3. We're going to hit command G to group them. And we're going to come into our transparency and hit multiply. It's going to make it nice and dark. It's going to let us see through our background on the other layer. And we're almost done with what we got to do. The last part to this banner is really creating the text. So there's different ways you can create text. I decided in this one, I'll just kind of go over it real quick. I offset the words our banners a little bit just because I felt like that it worked. So if I start moving everything around, yeah, I could have lined stuff up. I could have done it more like this and had it staggered. And actually, maybe at first, I really feel like I maybe had it like this. I'm like no, it's got to be more, more blocky, more inward. And it's funny. I also just noticed that I didn't put an emoji there because I remember I said earlier I did these 1, 2, 3, 4 last. And I did these last on the bottom. So I already had this set in here, and I said, oh, let's put some on the left and some on the right. See here, if I was to do this, option click shift, and I brought this guy to the front, yeah, it would cover one of them, but it might not. I would space out good on the left and the right, I guess. All right, so we'll leave that there. Our banners are the blank, our prints don't stink. Instead of showing you how to do the actual text, because I do text in every tutorial, I did text in my last 2, which I spend a lot of time on that stuff. I just want you to just kind of get almost like theory-wise. So if you see how the O, and when I'm moving it up, or even if I pull a guide, it's pretty much at the end of the A right here. I could have made this a little bit smaller right here, or even made this come out a little bit more where this meets up with the edge, because I like things to be uniform. Although on here, it necessarily didn't have to be. I didn't want... And actually, if you really think about it, let me just back up to where it really was. Hold on, I'm going back. Okay. Actually, maybe I did do this, I just don't remember. If I do the O, the A, and the O, they all line up. Look at that. O, A, O right there. If I scale this up a little bit, that pretty much lines up. And visually, to me, that looks appealing, balanced, and well. So we're going to end the tutorial here because, like I said, the last thing with the text, I've done so much of this stuff, and to make the video even longer with that is, I think, unnecessary at this point. But like I said in the other two tutorials, I'd really encourage you to all post your work. I'll be on there answering questions and help, and anybody else who could definitely help. In the comments is where you're going to leave this on my Facebook page. I mean, you guys can even leave, obviously, comments on YouTube. You just can't attach images. And then think of your own catchy new banner saying, and create an entire brand new theme around it. And, don't feel embarrassed. Post it out there. We're all graphic designers. We're all, trying to learn and hopefully lift each other up and help each other out. So my name is Steve Looney from GraphicDesignerTips.com. I hope this 3-part series was something that you really learned from. I was very excited to do this, and I got a bunch more good content coming out soon. So just stay tuned, everybody. Have a good night. Peace.